Hey, we live in a world that runs on instant gratification. We want everything and we want it now. And while we might be telling ourselves that we're willing to work hard for what we want and that we don't want that overnight success, don't we really? Subconsciously, we all want to be doing a perfect job at what we're doing, and we want to be doing it now. The other day I suffered a setback on a project that is very dear to me. It's something that for about half a year I've invested the majority of my time and energy into, so far without any form of monetary support. And in order to gain that monetary support, because surprisingly even academics need to eat, I wrote a research proposal. I spent an entire month researching and writing it, and because of the hard work I put into it, I felt pretty good. Because hard work is supposed to guarantee success, right? Wrong. My advisor gave me feedback I did not expect. Namely, that the research proposal I wrote is very convoluted and messy. This was very difficult to hear. At this point, you might expect me to tell you that all I really needed to do was to double down harder on my project, but I won't. Because the truth is, as of filming this, I'm taking a break from it. Because as hard as it is to admit, my advisor was right. There are parts of that project that need to be reworked. And as I was receiving that feedback from them, I was still too close to the project to do so. I tell this story because it illustrates my point that not all setbacks require us to power through them. Sometimes they can mean that something generally isn't working. And this is constructive criticism provided to us by life. But if setback were just that, constructive criticism, then it wouldn't feel like failure. Failure to do things correctly, failure to meet expectations, and failure to be the right person for the job in the first place. Because the worst part about setbacks isn't the disappointment we'll feel that something hasn't worked out the way we wanted it to, but the way our inner monologue will turn against ourselves. We all know how easy it is for doubt to creep in as soon as things get tough on a project. And this isn't because we're lazy and we don't want to work towards our goals, but because when we're putting our time and energy towards something, we want confirmation that what we're doing isn't in vain. We want the confirmation that we're onto something, that we're not wasting our time or energy. And we do so because we want to prove to others and to ourselves that we are productive and therefore a good person. Productivity seems to be the core virtue of our times. So investing our energy into something that has no guarantees of success yet feels like flushing money down the toilet. And that feeling can cause emotions such as shame, guilt, or inadequacy, which can quickly derail our mental well-being. When emotions overwhelm me, I try to accept them for what they are. When I want sunshine and get rain instead, I might be annoyed, but I don't make that mean anything about me. Similarly, when I'm having a tough day of writing and I grow frustrated, I don't make that mean that I'm an uncreative writer or a bad person. I do so because when you're having a tough time with something, there is no point in pushing yourself harder if all that will lead to is you growing more frustrated. So number one step to recovering from a setback on a project is actually to take a step back from that project. This might mean working on something else for the rest of the day, or if you're already very frustrated, then it's better to take a step back from work entirely if you can, and do something like taking a walk or watching a movie with a friend. Essentially, do anything to remind you that unless your life is actively threatened at this moment, it's probably not that serious. Doing so will give you the necessary mental space to practice step 2, namely to investigate your emotional reaction to the setback. And this is step 2, not 1, because it's important to investigate your emotions from a neutral standpoint. So ask yourself, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts surrounding this setback? Likely, it's not the thing itself not working that is truly frustrating to you, but the story you keep telling yourself about it. Because the thought of this isn't working is frustrating but not hurtful, while this isn't working because I'm too stupid to make it work is. And out of all the steps, I would say step 1 and 2 are the most vital ones, because taking a break and investigating your emotions surrounding the setback will allow you, once you return back to the project, to have more compassion for yourself. And this in turn gives you the ability to look at the project with new eyes, because I find that often setbacks in projects are caused by the tunnel vision I develop as a result of being so immersed in them. This tunnel vision can be helpful because it helps us tune out distractions, but it makes us susceptible to blindly following the established path, even when it becomes obvious that it's leading us nowhere. And to make sure that we're actually breaking this tunnel vision even when returning to a project, step 3 to overcome a setback on a project is to change up your environment once you return to it. And you can get creative here. If you live on a nice island, then you might want to do some brainstorming at the beach. But for most of us, this will probably mean going to a cafe to write, or just picking a nicer area of our office building to do some brainstorming. This is important because by breaking the routine that got us into a rut in the first place, in addition to the novelty of working in whatever pleasant environment we've picked, sends a signal to our subconscious that we are entering a new era in our project, and an era that's characterized by more joy and more flow. And we do this, step 4, by beginning with what is most fun to us about the project. This might mean researching a subtopic we're particularly interested in, or simply the application of the skill necessary to complete the project. And it's absolutely vital that you identify what is fun to you about the project, because that is what will carry you through the tough parts of it. No one wants to do anything that's pure drudgery. But if we can identify these small pockets of fun, then we get through the difficulties with more ease, because we can remind ourselves that on the other side of them, there is something to rejuvenate us waiting. And once we've identified what is most fun to us about the project, then step 5, it's important that we discuss that fun part with someone we trust. This might be a friend or family member, but it's even better if it's someone in your field. Meaning, if you're an amateur seamstress, then you should discuss the project with someone with similar interests. And this isn't about asking them for technical advice. It's about fueling your excitement for the project by discussing it with someone whose passion equals your own. When we can discuss our craft with someone who just gets our passion for it, then not only are we reminded of how fun it is what we're doing, but we're also reminded of why we're doing what we're doing. And as a side effect, we often actually gain new impulses that we can bring into our projects, which in turn make them even more fun. And should you have tried all of that and still feel frustrated over your project, then here's an optional step 6 for you to overcome setbacks on any project. Namely, that you can cheat on your project. Meaning you can develop a side project, something that's not serious, fun, just for you, where you can indulge in these maybe more childish impulses that you wouldn't allow yourself to indulge in your big serious project. Because having something with low stakes to dabble in that is lacking the benchmarks and achievements we tend to associate with our more serious projects reminds us that they are not that serious at all. This works best if it's a project that's employing the same skill. So meaning if you're having a setback on your novel, then you should try writing a short story. But if that's not possible because your frustration about the setback is still so large, then really anything that causes you to have fun again should be an improvement. Because even if we can't revitalize the joy for our project, then at least we should be doing that for our life. And then everything else will follow. I want to remind you that whatever it is you're dealing with right now, it's only a speed bump, not a roadblock. Because when we get so caught up in our setbacks, it feels as if we could never overcome them. By taking breaks and practicing self-reflection, we learn why setbacks occur and how they don't define us or our skill level. This allows us to find joy in our projects again and return to our craft with fresh eyes. And if we discuss that newfound joy with people who share our passions, then we further reignite that spark of creativity. This allows us to return to our projects with fresh eyes, thereby enabling us to find joy in our craft again. And if we can discuss this newfound passion with others who share it, they in turn give us new perspectives we can bring into our project. And if all else fails, at least we can reignite our creativity via a side project. And the number one life hack to prevent further setbacks in the future is to have a gratitude practice. In order to find out more, check out my last video where I discuss why it's so important to live a life of gratitude. My name is Zhenya, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.